2025. So next, let's go ahead and kind of rip it out a little bit. So I purposely went to the red line so you could hear that beat. Welcome to Drive Culture. I'm Jonathan Rivers, and today we have the 2025 Honda Civic Si. And I'm going to tell you about all the changes that Honda made during this mid-cycle refresh. So we'll go over the exterior, the interior, the powertrain, and of course, take it for a drive. So if this is content you're after or you're new to the channel, please be sure to click that bell to subscribe to come back for more. And with that, let's get after it. Now, the 2025 Honda Civic Si just got a mid-cycle refresh. And if you've watched our channel before, you know that we already have a 2024 Civic Si on the channel. So now you can go back and watch that and really see all of the changes that Honda made here. But if you haven't watched that video, we're of course going to give you all the details now. So let's talk about trims and pricing and things like that. So for Civic Si for 2025, essentially it comes two ways. You can get the Honda Civic Si, and that has an MSRP of $29,950. Or if you're in some place like here, SoCal, and you don't mind summer tires, you can pay an extra $300, making it $30,250 to get the high performance summer tires, which this car is equipped with. And for me, for 300 bucks, I'm going to upgrade for sure. So we'll talk about that more as we get into the drive. Now, like I said, outside of that, there's no other trims and options. Like what you see is what you get. And with this trim and this color right here, this is Rally Red. I think it looks really good on this refreshed Civic Si. So next, let's go ahead and jump into all of the exterior details and the change points they made to this Si. So up front, just like the other Civics for 2025, it's essentially a whole new front fascia, right? And it's quite a big departure, right? So even this top brow got changed because they updated this grille design here. This kind of, honeycomb style mesh. It's a matte finish. You got the 3D Honda logo. Of course, that SI badging in red that looks really, really nice. And one of the other changes that extends out from that are these kind of like lower eyelids below the LED headlights and daytime running lights. Now, on other models and like on the touring trims of the hybrid models, that piece here is actually painted body color, but on Si, it's actually painted black. And with this car being red, it truly pops. So let us know if you guys like that new design detail here on the Civic Si. Down below, this whole front fascia is also new, right? It kind of looks closer to Civic Type R now, right? You got this huge, massive opening here, that same honeycomb mesh in a matte finish. You see some openings down below. It's completely functional, right? Feeding air into the intercooler for the turbocharged engine. Definitely nice touch point there. And then you get this kind of like gloss black front lip now. So that's also a new change point for 2025. And you do get these kind of inlets here, which are actually open and functional. So again, the whole front fascia looks a lot more aggressive than I think the pre-mid-cycle refresh design for the Civic Si. So next, let's start making our way to the side of the vehicle. So one of the big change points is the wheel design for 2025. Now, it's the same series tire, same diameter as before. So it's an 18-inch wheel. It's on 235 40R 18 tires. But like I said, this one here is equipped with that $300 optional summer tire package, and they're Goodyear Eagle summer tires. And yeah, they have a nice look and feel to them. Definitely look like there's a little bit more grip, a little bit stickier than the standard tire. So again, if you don't have to worry about winter conditions, this is probably the way to go. Beyond that, though, like I said, the wheel itself, the design is all new for 2025. It's this really, really nice, like kind of split 5-spoke design, and the wheel itself is in a matte black finish. So I think that looks really, really good. There's also black lug nuts. And one nice little detail that stands out to me is actually in the wheel itself, they've stamped in Si. So that wasn't on the car before the pre-refresh. So I think that's a nice little design that was added here at 2025. Making our way to the side of the vehicle, you got gloss black mirror caps. You got the matte finish around the window treatment. And just like some of the other, trims, you actually get this like nice side sill spoiler. So it's a matte black finish, but it looks really nice, kind of breaks up the body lines. But that massive character line carries all the way to the rear of the vehicle, where I think the SI looks the most sportiest. So part of that is this massive kind of decklet spoiler they have on the black. So it's gloss black and it's exclusive to SI. It didn't change in design or shape from before, but it still looks really good. And again, it pops really well on this red. The last car we had on the channel, that was a black car, so it kind of blended in a little bit more. But here on Rally Red, it definitely stands out. Now, up top, again, you got the chrome Honda badge, chrome Civic badge, and that red SI badge off to the side. The tail lights now for 2025 have actually been darkened, right? That was a design change that Honda did for all of the sedan Civics for 2025. So even here on the SI, they're darker, right? And I think that again makes this car look a little bit more sporty. Down below, you have this rear diffuser, and one of the change points is even down here on the bottom. It's actually painted body color as well. So, you have that extra little rally red that like pops out down below. You still get the same dual sporty exhaust on the SI. Sounds pretty good. But I think that really covers all of the exterior change points and the differences for 2025. So next, let's go ahead and hop inside to talk about the interior. All right, here we are inside the 2025 Honda Civic Si. And there aren't that many updates, as far as design and materials, but there's lots of technology updates and feature updates that we'll get to here in a sec. But just like before, great steering wheel, perfect size diameter, not too big, not too small. It's leather wrapped. There's red contrast stitching throughout. Great ergonomics, right? You got all your volume and track controls here on the left, all your ADAS safety controls here on the right. So that's really, really nice. The other thing I'll talk about are the seats. The seats have always been good in SI, and they pretty much carry over from before. Really aggressive like side bolsters here. Not so much up in the shoulder, although you get a little bit of bolstering, but tons of support here on the sides and even down here on the lower half of the seat as well. So really, really good bucket seats. What's new though for 2025 is that finally these are heated, right? So they're 3-stage heated seats now for both the driver and passenger. They're still manual seats, so you got to do manual adjustments for both the driver and passenger. But again, given the car's price point, it doesn't really bother me so much. Outside of that, again, still really good materials throughout. The Civic still has one of the nicest interiors in its class. You do get a power moonroof with a sliding shade here, which is nice. You get that signature, honeycomb mesh that goes across the entire dash. True before as well, the SIs had this kind of red trim that goes around it, and that carries over across the entire dash. So that's kind of a nice sporty look and feel. Really nice HVAC vents and really nice controls. They're very, very clickety sound. Really good materials there. Again, no changes from before. SI doesn't get the wireless charge pad, but you still get a nice place to put your phone. You get 2 USB-C charge ports now, one for data, one for charging, and of course a 12-volt socket. As we get to the center console, this material didn't change as well. Of course, it's a 6-speed manual transmission. We'll talk more about that in the drive. Next to that, though, you got this little cluster for your drive mode toggle. We'll talk about those. Idle stop on and off, an electronic parking brake, as well as brake hold. Still get 2 cup holders, pretty good size. And in here, a little bit of space in the center console. Of course, a traditional glove box. But again, this is a really nice place to be. There's lots of good materials. But let's talk about some of the kind of newer feature and tech updates. So you get a 9-inch color touchscreen, which was true before, but now it's got the updated interface and it also has Google built in. And again, if you watched our channel before, I'm sure you've heard us talk about that as more and more cars start to get this, but let's real quick just cover what Google built in is. Essentially, it's 3 apps. You get Google Maps, which means it's the embedded navigation for the car now. You don't need your phone or anything like that. Google Maps is it. You also get the Google Assistant. So all of your voice controls now, you say, hey Google, and you can have it control things beyond your volume, like even the HVAC, the climate system. So that's really nice. And then lastly, you get Google Play, the Google Play Store that allows you to update apps and download things over Wi-Fi. So that's a really nice feature. And you get 3 years of that whole like data package included. So really, really nice that that was updated for 2025. But one of the other really big differences is now SI finally gets a full 10.2-inch digital instrument cluster. Before this pre-refresh, essentially you only had a 7-inch half gauge cluster that was digital, and then you had an analog gauge for your speedometer. But now it's fully digital. There's new graphics. There's this cool new startup SI graphic, and with all your safety functions, you see the cars next to you now. So that was a really, really big upgrade for SI. But given that this is a sport compact here, even better is right above, you get full LED lights now. That wasn't a part of SI. In fact, it was on the Type R, but that's now been carried down to the US market SI. That's a big change point. I know there was people that wanted that from the get-go, but now you finally get it in the refresh, and it's cool to watch it light up, and you'll hear the sound while we're driving as well. So really, really big updates there. You still get the 12-speaker Bose premium sound system, which I think is really great. The sport aluminum pedals down below, and just like I said, really good materials and build quality, considering this car's like $30,000, right? So really good value there. So next, let's go ahead and hop in the rear. All right, here we are in the rear seat of the Civic Si. Now, there's not a whole lot back here, but let's talk about what you do get. So, looking behind these big bucket seats in front of you, but on the passenger side, you get a mat pocket, none on the driver's side. There's no HVAC vents, there's no connectivity back here, and given the price point, let us know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. Are you okay with that? But for me, it's not that big of a deal. Again, given the price points, you do get some speakers back here, continuing from the front with the Bose premium sound system. You get some of the same materials that carry over to the rear of the door. The red contrast stitching carries over to the back seats, as well as the same material. SI really is a 5-passenger vehicle. In the center here, you get an armrest that pulls down, 2 cup holders. Headrests are fixed for all 3 though. They're not adjustable here in the rear seat. And just as a reference, we actually put a booster seat back here, knowing that, hey, this might be your main car, you might have small children, so this will hopefully give you an idea of how much space they have back here as well. And you can see, even if you had a rear seat, child seat back here, you still have lots of space. For me, this is my actual driver position. I'm 5'10", I've got lots of knee room back here. There's a nice cutout back here for my head, so lots of headroom. And it might be tight for 3 adults across the back, but 2 adults and maybe a child, no problem, really good space. The seats are 60/40 folding as well. So next, let's go ahead and talk about the cargo space. All right, next, let's go ahead and talk about the cargo space of the Civic Si. Now, obviously, this car is a sedan. It's not available in that hatchback body style. So let's see how much space you got back here. Trunk rises up really easy. It looks like it's pretty spacious. There's actually 14.4 cubic feet of space back here. As I mentioned, on the interior, the seats are 60/40 folding. There's actually these latches here to lower them down, so that's nice. You don't have to go inside the car to do that. And there's actually just a little bit of underfloor cargo space back here. There's a foam cutout that you could put a few things down there. So pretty good space considering that it's not in the hatchback body style. So next, let's go ahead and talk about the powertrain. All right, next, let's go ahead and talk about the powertrain of this 2025 Honda Civic Si. Now, admittedly, there's no changes than what was already in the vehicle, so you're going to get the same powertrain as before. However, we're going to talk about the dynamics during the drive. There's a little bit of change in how the car behaves itself. So you still get Honda's 1.5 turbocharged engine. You still get Honda's 1.5-liter turbocharged engine, and in the Si, it makes 200 horsepower and 192 pound-feet of torque. It's front-wheel drive, but it does have a helical limited slip differential, helps to put the power down, and it's made it exclusively to a 6-speed manual transmission. So as far as I know, I think on sale today, this is like the Civic is one of the only vehicles that has that as like its standard transmission. So great that they're saving the manuals, right? And again, it's what SI was all about, right? Was having that sporty transmission. So there's no better way to prove that out than to get behind the wheel. So next, let's go ahead and take this thing for a drive.
All right, guys, here we are inside the 2025 Honda Civic Si. We're gonna go ahead and take this thing for a drive. So grab my seatbelt, go ahead and put that on, clutch in, hit the engine start stop button. Starts right up, has a nice little sound to it, nothing overpowering. So like always, we'll go ahead and take this for a quick drive, and we'll go ahead and talk about the different drive modes. So before we set off, let's just get that out of the way. So in the Civic Si, you have a few different drive modes. So there's a little toggle switch down here, and you know, you go ahead, you pull it back, and what it does is it actually starts cycling through the different drive modes. So you have normal mode, you have sport mode, and you have an individual drive mode as well. So the individual drive mode is you push and hold to customize, and it gives you basically 4 different settings. You can go to the engine, the steering, the engine sound, that's kind of the active sound control they're using, and you also get a gauge. So you can customize each 4 of those areas, and it's pretty easy. You just click on the touchscreen, and it gives you kind of like normal or sport to kind of cycle through those different options. So let us know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. Do you own one of these cars? Have you driven an Si? What are your individual settings? Let us know down in the comments below. So for the purpose of this, we'll go ahead and actually start off in normal mode. So brake hold on, parking brake off, and we're gonna go ahead and take off now. So here we go. You know, the one thing about the Si is, again, just like most Hondas, the 6-speed manual transmission is just an absolute joy to drive. The pedal placement's really, really nice. The shifting, you know, is just super easy. You're never struggling, you're never hunting for which gear you're actually in. And I mean, it's just so much fun to drive. This is what Honda and Acura are really, really good at. The other thing now is there is the active rev match feature. So they still kept that here for 2025, and they've actually made a slight improvement, making it slightly faster and even giving it the ability to rev match downshift from second to first. So there's a little bit of enhancements there. The other thing is, there you go, you heard the idle engine stop go off. The cool thing about it is, given that it's a manual transmission, when you go ahead and push in the clutch, that's essentially what turns the car back on. So at some level, even if you didn't delete or turn off the idle stop, you actually get to kind of control it by whether you have the clutch engaged or not. Because if you have the clutch engaged, it will not turn on the idle stop function. So that's an interesting little feature there. But one thing to talk about here is actually for 2025, and it's true for not only the Si but other Civic models, is the R&D team actually adjusted some of the side body structure, improving the body rigidity of the vehicle. And in the case of Si, when you make a change like that, the engineers actually had to retune the dampers, right, for the vehicle. Now, Si, as you guys probably know, it doesn't have the ability to adjust the dampers. That actually went away after the 10th gen Civic, now into this 11th gen Civic Si. But they retuned them and kind of, you know, helped to make it even a little bit more sporty and fun to drive. And then you pair that together with these summer tires now. And again, this car is a lot of fun to drive. It handles really well. So, like I said, I'm cruising around in normal. This car, and I've talked about this in the previous 2024 Si review, with that 1.5 liter turbocharged engine, it's actually really docile around town, and it gives you really, really good fuel economy numbers. So we'll go ahead and put those on the screen for you here. But it's really easy to get into like the 30s, like no problem on this car. You can get really good MPG and still have a lot of fun flogging it around in your favorite back roads too. So that's kind of the great thing about Si. But driving in normal mode, it's, like I said, it's just super quiet. You don't get a lot of engine sound. You get a little bit of tire sound, and just a little bit of wind noise, but not much. Obviously, as you get on the freeway, you're gonna, experience a little bit more. But just cruising around town, I mean, this car is like super easy to live with. When you're in 6th gear and you're cruising around at like 35, 40 miles an hour, it's only sitting there at like 1,500 RPM. So again, it's a great daily driver, and I think you can have a lot of fun with it. So next, we're gonna go ahead and switch it into sport mode. And when you do that, you actually get a different gauge cluster design. Now that it's a digital instrument cluster, it gives you kind of these, red gauge faces now. And instantly, once you change it, you notice that the steering gets a little bit heavier now that you're in sport mode, and the throttle response is significantly better and faster in sport mode. So I think you could probably drive around even in sport mode and in daily driving. But yeah, again, if you just want to dial things back, that's what normal mode's for. But here we'll get into it with sport mode just to really see the dynamic capabilities, because the SI was always just a great fun to drive vehicle, and part of it is that it's light, it's compact, for modern day vehicles, right? And again, this manual transmission, so there you can tell that's not me heel and toe, that's the rev match. So it's super fast, and like I said, it was improved here for 2025. So next, let's go ahead and kind of rip it out a little bit. So I purposely went to the red line so you could hear that beep. That's actually a new feature now that they have this, these LED RPM lights. So let us know what you think about that. But here, let's go ahead and rip it again. So even then, I didn't get quite to red line, and it still did that. But it's cool watching the lights, like, come in, and there's that rev match, super solid. But watching the lights build up in front of you is actually a lot of fun, because they start out yellow and they work their way to the center, and then they become red. And so it just makes the car a little bit more sporty, a little bit more fun to drive. And it also gives you some visual indication of, like, where you are in the RPM band. Is it time to shift? So, I like that feature. So here we go. Let us know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. Would you get, annoyed with that beep? Would you not really want to do that on a day-to-day basis? Like I said, it's only when you're really just taking it to full RPM red line, really when you're getting into it. So here, let's give it another rip. 1 second, and then full on wide open throttle. You got full traction there, it's great. But yeah, I mean, this car is a lot of fun to drive. And I mean, just even, with the rev match, you see it shooting up to the RPM, red line there on the LED lights. Now it just makes the car, so much more exciting and fun to drive. So let us know down in the comments below. Are you happy with the changes they made for the SI? Is it on your shopping list? Was it on your shopping list to begin with? Let us know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. Also, let us know if you want to see other SI competitors or vehicles on the channel. We're happy to bring it to you. And with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this drive video.
All right, guys, that's a wrap. What did you think of the 2025 Honda Civic Si? Are all the improvements to the design, the features and tech inside, is it worth you to make that upgrade if you've already got an Si? Or if you're in this segment looking around at other competitors, is it finally the car that you want with the changes they've made? Let us know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. If you haven't already watched, we do have a 2024 Si video that's done really well for us that will show you all the change points prior to this mid-cycle refresh. So be sure to like and watch that video as well. And if you've joined us before, thank you so much. But if you're new to the channel, please be sure to click that bell to subscribe to come back for more. Thanks, and we'll see you at the next episode.